Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here. This is the Astrological Winds channel, and we're going to take a look at the astrological weather forecast for the week of February 8th through the 14th, Valentine's Day week. And some good news for Valentine's Day week, some good energies that line up good for that Valentine's Day type energy of romance and love. And we've got a new moon this week going on at 24 degrees Aquarius, which is in a stellium with a whole bunch of Aquarius energy going on. Another big marker of that handoff right now going on between the age of a Pisces ending and the age of Aquarius beginning, and really tipping the scales more and more into the Aquarius energy. So let's look at the week. It's actually a pretty busy week. There's a lot going on. Almost every day we have some activity this week. So starting today on Monday, where we've reached kind of that middle point of the Mercury retrograde cycle, as the Sun and Mercury retrograde are conjunct, what we call the inferior conjunction of Mercury retrograde. And this is the point in the cycle where we're most internalized, where we really have taken in a lot of the stuff that happened when Mercury went retrograde, and things kind of start to go awry, start to see things in a different way. And now we're really we're deep inside our own minds, really chewing over that stuff. And one of the things I've noticed about this Mercury retrograde so far, folks, is that, our Aquarian ideals, whatever they are inside us, whatever that Aquarian ideal stuff is inside us, I think a lot of us are really seeing are in this zone of seeing how people and things and relationships or places, whatever, are kind of not right now living up to those Aquarian ideals on our own subjective level. So there's, what I'm noticing is that, there's a lot of the misunderstanding, the miscommunicating that goes on with Mercury retrograde seems to be coming from this point of where people are feeling frustrated, that their ideals aren't being lived up to by those around them or the situations they're in. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if you guys have been noticing that too, but it seems to be something I'm noticing, how this one, we always have misunderstandings and miscommunications in Mercury retrograde, and I'm really seeing that this one seems to be colored on this thing of people really wanting to push. The Aquarius energy wants to push, its ideals and stuff, and it's very stubborn and strong about that, and really is really seemingly feeling a lot of that frustration come through there. But yeah, so and normally when Mercury and the Sun get together, it can be a good time to start things, but not during Mercury retrograde, obviously. And that, it's a time to kind of really, chew over the things that were kind of going on as you were coming into the Mercury retrograde cycle, and try to get your decision-making processes clear. So this inferior conjunction time is a time when we're very, very subjective in our thought processes. And sometimes that can make it very difficult to connect with others also, because we're just all kind of so subjective right now in our thought processes. So, but it also really has us fully engaged in what we're doing. We're just really, really focused on those things that we're doing. And I see that pursuit of the ideals in people right now is really there, and using this Mercury retro period right now is more remember once again to let not push what's going on out there in the world so much and try to make new pushes now, but kind of deal with the stuff that is going on right now. So that, or was going on as you're coming into this, and make that where you put a lot of that energy. And so yeah, we're right in the middle of that cycle on Monday here. And also, on Monday and going into Tuesday, and this is something that I mentioned on my monthly one. So both Pluto and Saturn are sextile series. And it's just like a time where we can really create or transform the way that we get nurturing and give nurturing in our relationships, and build like a really solid foundation with other people that are on that transformational process, and and on a similar wavelength of where we're at. And it can really just really bring a lot of depth, bring a lot of intensity, but in the sense of wanting to stabilize and support one another with people that you're doing creative transformation with. So really bringing one another almost a home to come back to really just have something where it's a safe place to go through these transformative processes together, and feel really stable about that, and feel nurtured, and give that when you can, and have that when you need it from the others around you. So really interesting energy going on there, because there's opportunities to do this now, to that there's people in your orbit that you can create that kind of stability and a home kind of feeling for one another, a nurturing kind of feeling for one another, a place to come back to and to feel safe, to transform and create new forms in your life and in others' lives on a social level, and to really because of going through that process together, creating a stability of trust that is a really solid foundation. What is interesting, though, at the same time, is we have Neptune opposite Vesta going on at the same time. Now, Vesta is another one of those main 4 asteroids, just like Ceres that I was just talking about. And so when Neptune goes into things, it's going to diffuse energy more. And in this case, there may be these places where you're going to just have to make some choices about certain groups that maybe you've belonged to for a while, and maybe they can't fit into your ideals anymore. So there may be some choices of having to separate yourself, and that can feel like a loss. So yeah, there's and then there's also the danger of falling into the archetype of being a victim or a martyr for a group, so there, it's a careful line that we have to walk with this. But Neptune is all about our ideals, and a lot of them right now are really having a hard time, being able to be put into our work, able to be put into our regular life. And we may find that a lot of our old spiritual ideals, our old sexual ideals, a lot of those things aren't really working as well anymore. So we might have to make some decisions about separating ourselves from some of that stuff. Also on Tuesday is the second hit. So remember, Mercury's going backwards now. So it's the second hit of Mercury trining the North Node, conjuncting Pallas Athene, and at the same time semi-squaring Chiron, which, if you remember, this happened last week. And, this one's kind of interesting too, because I think, it ties in to a lot of that stuff of like wanting to create like a community or group that you associate with on this Aquarian level of like sharing ideals and bringing balance, bringing quality, bringing justice, things like that in. And it's a very strong energy right now, but it's also creating a divisiveness at times because the Aquarian thing is not going to let that go. So that's where that semi-square to the Chiron comes in, because the frustration, even though we're doing this, there's still this frustration of trying to get on the same page and then realizing that there are others who may be completely opposite of where you're coming from and your group is coming from. So kind of interesting that is coming back again in the continued like pursuit of trying to like find that right balance of values, so that that these group kind of associations can work well, and that you can work together on the ideals you want to pursue. And then Wednesday, Mercury retro goes back to the square to Mars. So Wednesday can be a pretty ornery day, actually. It's very egotistical energy, high strung, mental energy, really fueled by a lot of irritation and anger. So we're going to have to watch our words that day. It's going to be really easy to get, to be set off by others. Really best use for that energy is mental or intellectual work that you can do by yourself, and you'll probably even be pretty hard on yourself. It's just one of those things. Thursday's the new moon, but first, it's also like Thursday's one of those days where you almost wish it was, Valentine's Day was Thursday. Why I say that is Venus has its exact conjunction to Jupiter on Thursday, which is just one of the sweetest, most beautiful aspects, the blending of lots of strong affection in this very broad way. So it's a very optimistic, positive, social type of energy. And when you're already amorous with someone, it can really fuel a very positive, loving, and romantic side too. But it's also, there's also opportunities for good financial breaks, good investments. May get some windfalls somehow on the asset side of things, and just really good for socializing in general and stuff too. Okay, and then we come to the main event of the week, which is that new moon in Aquarius at 24 degrees. So you want to look at your chart and where 24 degrees Aquarius is, and that will be the house that this new moon is falling into, which is the area of your life where you'll see, this new moon be most in effect. So, new moon in Aquarius is in a stellium. And what a stellium is it's when a bunch of planets are conjunct one another, and it's just like a lot of planets close together. So Aquarius, as we know, is really, the key sign of what's going on right now, and also because of the whole age change of going into the age of Aquarius. And we've had a lot of big kickoffs with that, including the big Jupiter-Saturn conjunction on the solstice chart itself, and many other things. So the stellium starts linking all these other planets to it too. And so we have new moon is the sun and moon conjunct one another, and then there's Pallas Athene right there, and Mercury retrograde is pretty close, and then comes Venus and Jupiter, which I said are conjunct that day, and they're close to conjuncting Mercury retrograde, and then comes Saturn. So we have a whole load of planets, 6 or 7 there, in Aquarius, linked together, and that's what the stellium is. And so when you have that much energy of all these different planets together, what you have is a very complex form of energy. And there's a lot of ingenuity and brilliance within that complexity if it can be unpackaged properly. It's not the easiest thing to do usually with a stellium. For those who see what they're seeing, there can be like no doubt of what the energy and the idea that they see is, but many times it's very difficult to convey the idea to others because of the complexity of it. And many times, I shouldn't even say many times, all the time, language is too limiting for a stellium to explain itself properly. It's too linear, and a stellium just can't be contained within that box of linear thought. It's much more holistic. It much more comes from every angle. So really brilliant ideas can be downloaded into us now during that, and especially with Aquarius, because of its forward thinking and innovative way of approaching things, which comes from like the Uranian side of Aquarius, the Promethean side of Aquarius, the creative, intellectual side of Aquarius. Now, the thing with Aquarius is it's one of the most stubborn signs in the zodiac. It's fixed energy, and it's all about idealism, and it's all about how we perceive, how you perceive, how others perceive what equality and justice is. So you mix that all together and you get like a very stubborn individual or energy about what belief systems they have, and very like cutting edge revolutionary stuff, but like really strong about it. Like we'll be able to would actually fight for that energy. So we have like this very, very innovative new energy again. New moon is always a good time to start new things, and with all this Aquarius energy, where that can all lead to is just infinite, really. But the danger, like I said, is just kind of being so entrenched in our position that we will naturally be at odds with others who are entrenched in their positions too. And you start adding all those other planets into the equation, and you start to like see how entrenched those positions can be. What's interesting too about this new moon is it's ruled by Saturn and Uranus. Aquarius's traditional ruler is Saturn, and it's co-ruled or has affinity with Uranus. So they are, of course, just about ready to perfect that first square. So that shows that all these changes that are coming in are going to create a lot of rapid change, a lot of chaotic change, a lot of structures falling apart again, and new things replacing them very rapidly, and people really fighting over what goes into those vacuums, and trying to be really entrenched in their position there. But really it's a very really gets us to a point where we're really wanting to connect with others that have similar pursuits than us. And there's a lot of ingenuity, there's a lot of creative intellectual energy that can be accessed through Aquarius and energy. And so, look at your chart and where all that falls in your chart and the house that it falls in your chart. And that's where that energy can really, bring in some new, innovative, creative, intellectual energy into your life. Also remember, if you have any planets that are around, 23, 24, 25 degrees, then they're going to also be aspecting the new moon, and they will also color the energy of what's going on. But yeah, this is just another aspect that's welcoming in the dawning of this new age of Aquarius, which is going to continue to create a lot of change in our lives and in society. And so really like a time when we really pursue, and socially you'll see people trying to eliminate the isms, trying to bring equality, trying to bring justice, all that kind of stuff into what they're out there pursuing on a social, political type of level. And a lot of like just connecting with people with similar ideals, especially on intellectual levels. The use of a lot of like the use of technology and media and things like that to do that too. So really interesting energy there with the new moon in Aquarius, a very complex one. And I would say more likely than not, what we are like, pursuing and what the ultimate, picture of what the results of that may be in our mind are likely not going to be what we finally see out of the things that start around now. I think we're going to go through a lot of, there's just so an infinite number of ways this energy can translate into reality. And I think, we probably won't, with the Mercury retrograde and all this other stuff going on, we probably won't see exactly what we're hoping to see in what we see in these changes. But on Friday, we have another really nice Valentine's Day type of aspect, and that's Mercury retro conjuncting Venus. And